Swapping your classic vehicle to LED taillights. There's a ton of options, but today I'm going to look at one specific brand and show you some of the good sides and bad sides. Let's do it. What's going on, guys? Matt over here, Lethal Garage, and today I want to talk about LED lights for your classic Camaro. Now, these span for the most part from what, 1970 to 74 for these specific ones, but obviously there's LEDs and all sorts of changes. But in this instance, I'm going to be talking about the standard circle lights that everyone knows of, or if you want to see the originals, here's some original RS setups. But today I want to talk about LEDs versus the old school. Now, before me, I have the United Pacific offering. I found out about United Pacific because of SEMA. They won all sorts of awards when these lights came out. So what better way to check them out than to purchase them and check them out? I couldn't really find a lot of people making videos on them, so hopefully this video is somewhat helpful for you guys looking for the product. But overall, I just want to go through all the individual details of the product and show you some of the shortfalls and positives of it. So let's get right into it. So again, as you can see here are the standard, these are actually 1973s. So my neighbor Rich down the street, he's got a 73 Camaro, and these are the factory original lights that his car came with. And he actually replaced his setup with the same lights I did because he waited for the choice that I made. He was like looking at trailer brake lights and all sorts of different stuff and just couldn't decide what LED setup he wanted. And in this instance, he knew he didn't want the old school look. He wanted it a little bit more modern. So he went with United just like I am. And in this specific instance, there's quite a few different things to take in mind in the setup. So not only are you getting a standard brake and parking light, which is here, you also get a parking light with reverse light in the center, and both will flash as your blinker or hazards. Now, you can directly plug them in. They come with all the wiring that you need to be able to tie them in. They'll socket right into your factory setup, but to get the crossover wires, which I believe the yellow is the tail light, parking light, blinker, white is your ground, and then red is your stopping light, turn light, and also blinker. So that's for that crossover. The regular parking light literally just plugs right in. Now, in my instance, when we break to go check out Rich's setup and see how his is done, he actually hardwired everything in. So he ditched the plugs themselves because his were all rotted and terrible and just did a hardwire job. So we can kind of take a quick glance at that later, but they're pretty much plug and play outside of the tap-in wires. And they give you basic wire taps and stuff like that out of the box. I obviously probably will not use those. I'll probably solder and cover the wires appropriately, but that's just me. Now, as far as the lights go, there are some fitment issues that I want to talk about. So in this, the brake light and parking light fits perfectly fine. No issues whatsoever. It's just sits right nice and flush, snaps right on in. Here, let's see if we can even snap this in. See if we can do it one-handed. Maybe. Maybe I have to do the top. Top first. Let's go top first. There we go, top first. It goes right in, no issues, no problems whatsoever. Now, the one thing that Rich was able to point out to me was on the parking light. So you'll see there's little tabs, and most of these tabs are where it snaps in, but this huge lump right here, he had found, and it's funny because this light has the lump, but it's not doing it. But this one, when you install it with that big lump, and I'll go ahead and I'll put this in and show you. See how this sits nice and flush on this side? So it's kind of sitting nice and flush in the housing, but you come over to this side and it's elevated. It's almost flush with the gray edge right here. And that is the problem. And it's not so much a problem in looks, but when you go to put it on the car, you have an issue with this sitting nice and flush and getting this to tighten down without any sort of problems. Now in Rich's instance, he said it wasn't a big deal just to file down to get that to sit flush. And then once you get the gasket on there, everything was fine and didn't have to worry about it. But that was one thing he flagged as being a potential issue that people may run into. His car is completely unaltered stock 1973, and just when he tried to mount it up and stuff, he found this was making it hard to make the overall setup sit flush against the backside of his vehicle. And I think over here on the right hand side, you can kind of see, you can see that bump part pushing it out. Where on this side, it's perfectly flat, sits right up against it. So interesting take, but something to highlight. One other thing to highlight is this setup will require resistors, or what they call LED flashers, to keep hyper flashing and stuff. So if your car doesn't have LEDs already, you'll probably need these LED flashers. They're not cheap. I want to say they were like 20 bucks a piece or 14 bucks a piece, something like that, but you will need something like this to keep them from hyper flashing. If you guys don't know what hyper flashing is, instead of your blinker going, it's like talking hand. It's a great representation. Now, one thing I hear from a ton of people is, how do the gaskets go on these stupid lights? And in my instance, my old lights that came out of my car, I don't have them anymore, but they were kind of like these in a sense, where there wasn't really any gasket left to understand orientation and how they were all set up. And I know the orientation now from a few people, and I just wanted to share it with you. So in the gaskets, you're gonna get one big gasket that has the two wide out tabs. So what I mean by that, there's a tab here and a tab here. There'll be one of those gaskets. You'll have two of these gaskets that just have one single tab, and you'll notice they don't have any sort of extra bolster or bumps where these ones do. So there's like a mini hump there and a much larger hump on the side, and I'll talk about that here in a second. And then again, here's your second one with a single tab, and then you're gonna have one with a double tab really close to each other. Now, as far as the wide tabs go, and I'm gonna call this one the wide tab, this is the parking light for the right side of the vehicle. So you can see the orientation tab goes in here, and then if you look at how it is, the mini hump is at the top and the larger hump is off to the outer edge of the vehicle, and these will close in that gap once you install it, because once you see the car and you put it on there, you'll understand why those are like that. As far as the single tabs, they go on the reverse / parking / blinker one. Orientation doesn't necessarily matter because it's perfectly flat. The biggest thing is you have to massage them over these chrome lips to get them to sit nice and flush. Now, as far as the double tab, this is for your left side parking light. So left side orientation, again, small hump up top, big hump over the side. You can also kind of see how the orientation of the housing gets really wide, and we'll force this out to contour with the body of the vehicle. And again, that's why this gasket is also that way. And then also, again, the single flat tab sticking on there, you'll have to massage it in place. That is how, well, they're not in right now because I didn't massage them in place, but that's how the gasket orientation works on the rear of your 70 to 74 Camaro. Now you may be saying, Matt, that's fine and dandy. You're showing us lights sitting on your toolbox in your garage, not turned on. I could get a 12-volt battery and hook it up and show you all the orientation and how it all works, but I could do you one better. As I mentioned earlier, Rich with his 1973 Camaro has these installed. He did do it hardwired, but I can show you all the functionality and how they look in real time on an actual car. Let's go do it. Rich's car, he has factory OEM housings for the lights, so you can kind of see how they're sitting in there. The car is off right now, and he's got them hardwired in. So he put them in line on both sides, and I don't know if he's cleaned up his wiring or not, but you can kind of see how he's wired those together. Here, the side he's got open still. So he just got butt connectors, everything's connected nice, and he's gonna loom and tuck it all in and make it look good. But overall, for the look, it has that same kind of factory look to it with the chrome outline bezels.
I think it looks really clean, and he's using the same gaskets that I just showed you there and lined them up accordingly. The hardest thing he highlighted when installing them was just he had to use like a pick tool, because the gaskets kind of want to cave inward, so you kind of have to like push them out to get good fitting. But overall, let's see how these lights look. So at first look, you can highlight, I mean, after seeing all the different options, you can see the inner lights are not as bright as the outer lights. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. You can definitely see there's quite, well, the light count on the outside. Let's see if I can just do simple math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5. It looks like there might be one more light per quarter quadrant overall. Sorry. Quick math there, but I think it looks really good. I mean, obviously the outer lights are gonna capture your attention, and then when you hit your brakes anyways, they're super bright, so that's really good in its own right. Now there's quite a few different options on the market. This is the United Pacific option. I like these. This is what I'm putting on my car. Obviously I have them sitting over there, and it was just happenstance that my neighbor Rich ended up doing it to his car as well. So I think they look really good, and that reverse light is bright as heck. I'd be interested to see how bright they are at night too, but they look pretty dang bright. So yeah, overall pretty cool lights. But that's all I got for today, guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about these lights, post them down below. Hopefully the gasket guide was useful for you, for those of you out there looking to do that, or if you guys are doing LED swaps or anything like that. Thanks for watching the video, and until next time, see you on the road.